My son came over crying after his wife threw out the family heirlooms I gave them for their anniversary. She said they smelled like dust and poverty, he whispered. I went over to ask why. She laughed in my face and said, "You people need to let go of the past." So I did something she'd never forget. I'm a 62-year-old father from Marietta, Georgia. My son, Josh, is 34. He's my only child. I raised him after his mama passed when he was just 12. It was just us two for a long time. We had our fights, sure, but we were close. Or I thought we were. He got married 3 years ago to a woman named Stacy. I never liked her. I kept quiet for his sake, but I could see it from the start. She thought we were beneath her. She's from California. Real modern. Always on about minimalism and curating your life. She once told me my living room looked like a grandma's attic. That was the first time she came to my house. I laughed it off. Told her those things meant something to me. Anyway, this past anniversary, I gave Josh and Stacy a gift. It was a wooden chest filled with family heirlooms. Some of it was from my parents, some from their parents. I told them it was for their new home, something to connect Josh to his roots. I didn't expect Stacy to care, but I thought maybe she'd at least respect it. I was wrong. Last Saturday, Josh showed up at my house with a box in his arms. I knew something was wrong right away. His eyes were red. His face was pale. He didn't say a word when he walked in. Just placed the box on my coffee table and sat down like he'd been hit by a truck. I opened the box. My heart dropped. It was broken pieces of our family. The carved jewelry box from my grandfather, split down the side. My mother's porcelain angel, shattered in half. The wedding quilt with my parents' initials, torn and stuffed in like garbage. A few black and white pictures wrinkled at the edges. Felt like someone had burned a piece of me. I didn't even know what to say. Josh spoke first. He didn't look at me. "She threw it out," he said, barely above a whisper. "What do you mean, threw it out?" "I found it in the trash." She said it smelled like dust and poverty. My stomach turned. He looked like he was about to cry again. He kept rubbing his hands together like he was cold. She said we don't need junk like that in the house. Said it was taking up space. I told her they were from you, from the family. She told me to stop living in the past. I asked him, "And what did you say?" I told her I'd go get them back. That's when she said, he paused. Then he said, "You people need to let go of the past. You people." I don't think I've ever been that angry in my life. I didn't yell. I didn't shout. I just sat there nodding and told him to go rest. He went to his old room. Slept like he hadn't slept in days. I didn't sleep at all. Next morning, I went to their place. It's a big modern home just outside town, one of those houses with more glass than walls. I knocked. She opened the door with a fake smile on her face. "Well, that didn't take long," she said. "I guess Josh told you. Why would you throw away things that belong to his family?" I asked her straight. She shrugged. "Because they were dusty. Moldy. Honestly, it smelled like a garage sale in there. And you people get so dramatic about junk. It's not like I burned a flag or something." I asked her again, this time slower. "What did you mean by you people?" She laughed. Actually laughed. "You know, Southern folk. You all hold onto the past like it's gold. Maybe it's time to let it go." I didn't say a word after that. Just nodded and walked back to my truck. But I was already making a plan. She didn't just throw out some antiques. She spit on our name, our family, our story. If she wanted us to let go of the past, then I'd show her what that past really looked like. And I'd do it in a way she'd never forget. First thing I did was call Jimmy Rhodes. Jimmy's an old friend of mine. He's been working in real estate around here forever. He owed me a favor. I asked him about a building near the downtown square. Turns out Stacy had just bought one. She was planning to revitalize it and turn it into some modern skincare boutique or something. But the building next door? That one was up for sale too. Quiet listing. The seller was retiring. I told Jimmy to buy it in my name. Next thing I did? I cleared out my workshop. Turned it into a war room. I started pulling out every piece of family history I still had. Letters, pictures, uniforms, tools. My dad's old medal from Korea. My uncle's union membership from the textile mill. I reached out to cousins I hadn't talked to in years. Asked them to send anything they had from the Benton family. I told them it's time people remembered where we came from. I worked through the nights. Restored what I could. Paid a local carpenter to fix the broken jewelry box. Paid a lady at church to repair the torn quilt. I made sure every piece looked just like it used to, while Stacy was gutting her building. Ripping out the oak floors, tossing stained glass windows. I was filling mine up. I hired a sign maker. Brass letters, big and bold. The Benton Family Heritage Museum. I planned the grand opening for the town's Founders Festival weekend. Same weekend Stacy planned to launch her boutique. She even put ads in the paper. Modern Roots, it was called. The irony made me sick, but I didn't try to stop her. I let her keep thinking she was the star of the show. Meanwhile, I sent out invites. Local press. Historical Society. VFW Post. I even invited the mayor's office. Told them it was a celebration of local history. Of the real people who built Marietta. When the day came, I stood outside the museum in my best suit. Josh stood beside me. He hadn't moved back with her. He'd been staying with me the whole time. Said he needed to clear his head. She showed up late. She walked over with a fake smile, wearing heels and a beige pantsuit, like she was ready for a ribbon cutting. She didn't realize what was happening until she read the plaque by the door. I watched her face change, from smug to confused to pissed. She tried to come inside. I stopped her. "This is for people who respect the past," I said. "You said you didn't." She said, "You can't block me out of this. Josh is still my husband." I said, "Not for long, he ain't." That's when Josh stepped forward. He looked her in the eye and said, "You don't speak for me anymore." She didn't know what to say. That was the first time I saw her truly speechless. She looked at Josh like he'd slapped her. "What are you saying?" she asked, her voice cracking a little. Josh didn't flinch. "I'm done, Stacy. You don't respect me. You don't respect where I came from. I should have seen it a long time ago." She turned to me like this was somehow my fault. "You did this," she hissed. "You turned him against me." I looked her right in the eyes. "No. You did this the second you tossed our family in the garbage." People were starting to stare. A few local reporters were standing nearby, pretending not to listen, but their phones were pointed right at us. Stacy must have noticed too, because she lowered her voice and took a step closer to Josh. "Can we just talk alone?" she asked, grabbing his arm. He pulled it away. "I've got nothing left to say." That was when she snapped. She raised her voice. "You're throwing away your future for this? For a bunch of dead people and old junk." Everyone heard it. The mayor's wife, the veterans, the historical society rep. Silence fell over the crowd like a wet blanket. I stepped back. Let her hang herself with her own words. The mayor's wife, a sweet woman named Darlene, came up to me a moment later and whispered, "Was that the girl trying to open that luxury spa next door?" I nodded. She pursed her lips. "Not anymore, she isn't. I'll make a call to the planning board." Turns out Darlene sat on the town's zoning committee. The kind of small-town power Stacy never bothered to learn about. She had no idea she was pissing off the people who actually mattered here. And it was just getting started. That same night, a clip of Stacy yelling about dead people and old junk hit Facebook, then Instagram. Then the local news station picked it up in a segment about heritage versus high-end development. The comments were brutal. People called her disrespectful, arrogant, clueless. She tried to post an apology, but it only made things worse. She said we were clinging to trauma like a security blanket. By the end of the week, she pulled down all her boutique signs. Her business Instagram disappeared. I heard from Jimmy that she tried to quietly sell the building, but word had spread. No one would touch it. No one wanted to be connected to that woman from the video. Josh started the divorce paperwork the next week. I didn't push him. He made the call on his own. I was proud of him, but it hurt to see him so broken. She'd done a number on his self-worth. Years of subtle digs, controlling behavior, gaslighting. He told me over coffee one morning, "I used to think I was lucky she picked me. Now I realize she thought she was doing me a favor. Like I was some charity case she took in." I didn't know what to say to that. So I just said, "You're my son. You were never a charity case. And don't you let anyone make you feel less than again." But that's when something unexpected happened. A lawyer showed up at my house 2 weeks later with a letter. Stacy had filed a petition. She wanted part of the museum proceeds, claimed emotional damages, said I'd humiliated her, and that the museum had capitalized off her name and likeness. I nearly laughed in the guy's face, except it was real. She'd filed an actual civil suit. Josh was furious. She's trying to take your legacy from you now. She's not just greedy. She's sick. He wanted to go public again. Post a video. Tell our side. I told him no. I had a better idea. I wasn't going to fight her in the comments. I was going to bury her in court. But not just with lawyers. With truth. I started digging. I called up a few of her old friends. One she used to talk about back when they first got married. I found one. A girl named Caitlin, who'd had a falling out with Stacy over money. Turned out Stacy had a habit of leeching off people. Borrowing money, promising to invest it, then ghosting them. One of her old roommates even claimed Stacy used her identity to open a credit card. I started building a file. Meanwhile, the museum kept growing. Donations were pouring in. A local teacher asked if she could start bringing her 4th grade history class every semester. The mayor declared the museum a city landmark. A regional heritage group offered a grant to expand it. And Stacy? She filed another complaint. This time, she said the museum was giving her severe anxiety and emotional distress, especially because she had to see it from her window. Only problem? She hadn't paid property taxes on that boutique building in 3 months. The county had already started the lien process. And I had my eye on that building. I was waiting, because if she thought losing her pride hurt, she hadn't felt real loss yet. About 3 weeks after her second complaint, Josh and I were sitting in the museum office going over some grant paperwork when we got the call. Jimmy Rhodes. He was laughing so hard he had to say it twice. She defaulted, he said. Stacy's boutique building. She didn't pay off the lien. It's going up for auction in 30 days. I didn't say anything at first, just leaned back in my chair. Josh stared at me. You're gonna buy it, he said. I nodded. But it wasn't just about buying it. It was what I was going to do with it. Over the next month, I kept it quiet. I didn't tell anyone. Not even Jimmy knew the full plan. I showed up at the county office, signed the paperwork, and wired the money. Bought it out from under her just 2 hours before a third-party investor had his bid lined up. The auction never even happened. And here's the part that might sound cruel. I waited to tell her. I waited until the morning the official county records updated. The deed went public at 9 a.m. I printed a copy and drove to her place. She was still living in that oversized house alone, probably still thinking she was better than the rest of us. When she opened the door and saw me standing there, she rolled her eyes. What do you want now? I didn't say anything. I just handed her the paper. She scanned it, confused at first. Then her eyes locked on the line at the bottom. New owner, Samuel W. Benton. Her mouth dropped open. No, you didn't. That's not, no, you can't do that. I already did, I said. She lost it, slammed the door in my face. Josh texted me an hour later. She's posting online, losing her mind. Her post read something like, "This town is evil. They're trying to erase women-led businesses. They stole my building. They're obsessed with destroying me. #Justice for Stacy." She had no followers left to care. But I wasn't done. 2 days later, I met with a group of local veterans and announced the new plan for the building. We weren't just keeping it in the family. We were turning Stacy's former boutique into a community hall and archives annex. A space where anyone in town could come research their family roots, hold memorials and host veterans meetings, genealogy nights, quilt shows, and school history contests. It was going to be called the Roots Room, right next to the Benton Family Museum, connected by a brick walkway with engraved family names from all over Marietta. When the local paper announced it, they even used the quote Stacy said that started all this. Some people think we should let go of the past. We believe in remembering who we are. And they put my name under it. Meanwhile, her lawsuit? I had turned over everything to my lawyer, including the file on her credit issues and old scams. Her former roommate even sent us a signed statement. When our attorney filed a countersuit for harassment and defamation, Stacy's lawyer dropped her case the same day. She tried to message Josh again. Told him she was going through a spiritual transformation and that she missed what they had. She said the museum had driven a wedge between them and she never meant for it to go this far. Josh blocked her, but not before forwarding the message to me with one word, pathetic. I didn't respond to her. Not then. But the last twist? That came a month later when I got a letter from a lawyer I didn't know. Stacy had filed for bankruptcy. Turns out she had taken out personal loans tied to that boutique property. Loans she assumed would be paid off once her business started making money. But with no business, no public support, and now no property, she was drowning. The lawyer asked if I wanted to make a statement as a creditor. I declined. I had nothing left to take from her. The town had already done that for me. About 6 weeks after the bankruptcy notice, I thought it was all done. Thought I could finally focus on finishing the museum expansion and helping Josh move on with his life. But karma still had a few cards left to play. One morning, I walked into the museum early, before anyone else arrived. I always liked those quiet hours. No noise, just me and the walls filled with family history. I just poured myself a cup of coffee when I noticed something odd on the front porch camera. A woman in a hoodie pacing. I clicked in closer. It was Stacy. She stood there for almost 15 minutes, looking at the door, stepping back, walking forward again like she didn't know whether to knock or run. Then she pulled out her phone, took a deep breath, and started live streaming. She pointed the camera at the museum sign and started talking. "This town destroyed me," she said. "They stole my business. They humiliated me, all because I threw away some old junk that smelled like dust." She tried to cry. Her voice cracked. It was fake as hell. But before she could finish her sentence, someone walked up behind her. It was Darlene, the mayor's wife. Darlene didn't say a word. She just reached forward and clicked the phone off like it was her own. Stacy turned around, shocked. "Excuse me, no," Darlene said. "You're not doing this again." Stacy scoffed, tried to go into her whole freedom of speech bit, but Darlene didn't flinch. "You embarrassed this town. You mocked the people who built it. You insulted veterans, mocked working families, and now you want sympathy? Go live in your sister's garage and cry to someone else. We've moved on." Then she turned around and walked off. I stood behind the door and watched it all through the side window. Stacy didn't even knock. She just stood there a few more minutes, holding her phone like it was a weapon that had backfired, and then left. She hasn't shown her face around town since. But the final nail? That came a few months later. A letter arrived in the museum mailbox. It was from a law firm in San Jose. Stacy's mother had passed away unexpectedly, and apparently there was a will. The letter said Josh had been listed as a potential beneficiary due to still being legally married at the time the will was written. Josh didn't want it, but when we looked into it, we learned Stacy's mom had left everything to her daughter with one strange condition, that Stacy never sell or destroy the antique furniture passed down from her grandfather's home in Mobile, Alabama. Yeah, heirlooms. The same kind of stuff she said smelled like poverty and dust. Turns out her mom valued history, cared about where she came from. The furniture, photo albums, and even a family war medal were listed in detail in the will. And because Stacy had already sold half of it during the time she and Josh were married in violation of the will, the rest of the estate defaulted to the secondary beneficiary, Josh. He inherited over $380,000 in assets. Stacy got nothing. She tried to contest it. Her challenge got thrown out in probate court in less than 10 minutes. She cried outside the courthouse. A local news photographer, who happened to be there for an unrelated story, snapped a photo of her sitting on the curb in her heels, mascara running down her face, holding an empty handbag. The caption read, "When you throw away the past, sometimes the future throws you back." That photo ended up in the final room of our museum, right next to a display on lessons from the past and preserving family memory. Josh added the caption himself. "We called the room the cost of forgetting." Some folks thought it was too much, but not me. Because some people don't learn until the world hits them in the mouth. And even then, they'll blame the punch instead of their own choices. As for me, I retired from my day job and now run the museum full-time. The Roots Room opened last spring. It's booked through the next 2 years with school events, weddings, and heritage fairs. Josh met someone new, a schoolteacher named Megan. She came in with her students one day and stayed to help with cleanup. She's quiet, kind, and the type to listen before she speaks. She doesn't flinch when she sees the old photos. She asks questions. She cares. Last week, Josh told me he planned to ask her to marry him. He said, "I'm gonna do it right this time. No lies. No shame." I smiled. "You already started doing it right. I told him. You remembered who you are, and that's the thing. Stacy tried to erase us. She ended up erasing herself. That's not revenge. That's karma. And some of us were raised to let time handle fools. Others? We build museums and make damn sure history never forgets their names or their mistakes. Let that be a warning. If you spit on someone's story, don't be surprised when the ending leaves you behind.